let's get our next speaker on board. Passionate about what he does, he has worked on and in various fields like mobile and web API automations, performance testing, DevOps, test ops, machine learning, and conversational artificial intelligence, and many more things. Soumya is passionate about creating new tools and framework across QA. He's a developer at heart, tester at core, and always trying to do something new. Soumya, we're very glad to have you here with us. He will be talking about enabling data analytics for smart automation. Looking forward for an interactive and insightful session. Over to you, Soumya.
Soumya, you're on mute.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Deepti, for giving such a wonderful talk about myself. And first of all, I would like to thank Aditya and Agile Testing Alliance for giving me the opportunity to speak about one of the very interesting topic that I have closely worked on, and it is very close to my heart. I keep on doing a lot of things in this particular area, and let's see, and make it a lot of fun. Okay, so before I share my screen, I would like to share one tweet from one of my very good friend and my mentor, Unmesh. He tweeted some time back on Twitter that if you can dream it, you can do it. And it basically, I can relate to it very well because testing in QA, in testing in automation, you have to dream a lot. If you can't dream a lot and breathe what you do day in and day out, you will not be able to achieve things that you want to do. Only delivery is something that is not everything, but there are other stuff as well. On that note, I will just share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, Soumya, it's visible.
Sure. Is it okay now? It's flickering. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Just give me a second. It's just flickering like crazy. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how. So I'll basically tell you a story. Okay. There are a lot of people talking about AI in QA. Okay, and believe me, most of the people don't believe that is possible. And when you look, so giving a context on how this automation thing has started in this particular industry, we never try to basically go and attack a problem as a whole. We try to break that up into bits and pieces and see which one you can conquer it at that particular time, and how we can put it in your particular roadmap. Similarly, AI is something which can be applied on bits and pieces and try to, you can basically measure its efficiency and then try to apply as a whole. If you try to apply AI on the entire automation project or a QA project, it won't not work. So what I would basically talk about is uh, how did I enabled AI, in automation, and how, with respect to a simple approach like enabling some data analytics, okay, while you were doing automation, can actually achieve wonders the way you're doing automation. This was being done in my previous organization. I was working with a large bank, and it's a personal experience that I'm going to share with you. The practice that I was basically managing was the reliability engineering piece on the QA side, wherein we actually go ahead and try to put try to do a lot of POCs across things and then see how we can improve on the efficiency. So as I said, that I'm going to tell you how you can apply AI and automation. The first thing is that, how can I perform analysis on the current things that I do? So you guys are automation testers, you are practicing automation. People who do not know automation, they want to do something, right? So as a whole, what are the things that currently you can do in your automation project, to basically enable smart automation. So let's see some strategies during this course of action, course of this particular presentation. So before that, I would like to ask one question. When we design a framework and perform automation, what are the popular assets we create? And I can use a chat of the particular talk that, if you guys can go ahead and respond to
Yeah,
it.
guys, you can respond using chat, or maybe you can just unmute and answer, Soumya.
Yeah. Question is simple. You are trying to do automation. You are designing one framework. Okay. And what are the assets that you would create? And there is nothing wrong or right in this particular thing. Believe me, things work for you. Things may not work for others. Okay. So I got something was from Fairs. It's elements, repos, test data, input data. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So let me tell you something. Okay. So most common things that people do when they write framework. One is their master script, something which will drive their test. They will read through the data. They will see what scenarios they would like to run. Okay. And in the process, they will talk to some libraries. Those may be a common library or some business driven library in their framework. Test data, most of you are correct that you have will work with test data files. There are various configurations in the framework that you would use probably at a project level or at a implementation level. Okay, at a framework level. So there are various configurations that you can use. There will be feature files if you are doing BDD, or some kind of scenario file written in Excel that can be an underlying source of your execution. Obviously, you would write scripts, you would generate reports. I think most of you would agree with this particular inventory. Do you think I miss anything, or do you think that you generally people do miss a lot of stuff? When they create assets. Anyone? Are they all right? Can anybody tell me that? Sorry.
Yes, Soumya, we can hear you.
No. So what I'm saying is that, is it the right inventory? Do you think am I missing anything? Because that's interesting. Okay. So going forward, okay, in this, a lot of people miss a very important thing while they do automation. That is, okay, so some things which are important, but no one cares these days. Okay, they just want to go and do automation, take the test cases, find a tool, identify objects, perform events, push data. That's about it. Okay, but there are very important things that nobody cares. Those are logs and proper test reporting. So what are logs? Okay, so I still remember when I started my career in as a developer, and then I moved to QA. The first and the foremost thing that I used to see is logs. Anything that I would do, I would go and check in the logs what's happening in the log. So everyone is so busy writing test scripts that no one bothers. If we are generating logs for automations, I have. Believe me, in my experiences, I used to manage around 63 odd projects. Logging is one thing which people were not doing. Okay. Second problem was test reporting. Even if you are doing test reporting, okay, in your large scale automation projects, okay, you do not know what is the 100th tester is writing and executing. Okay, so there is no collation of information, okay, that is present in the current projects. So if I talk about that, if I consider, say, I and myself and Deepti, let's assume that Deepti is creating some scripts and she's executing. She would generate her own report. I will create my own script. I will execute. I'll generate my own report. Collation of the report is, at the end, what we will do is we will sit together and we will try to collate all the numbers and say that, okay, this much is being done. Okay, that's the two things which people are missing at this day. So what we do? We do data centralization. Everything is revolving around centralization of the data. Uh, you may be running 50 odd projects, 200 odd projects, 1000 projects, but if you do not do data centralization, you will not able to showcase ROI, showcase value to the business as to how you are doing your automation, or if in fact how are you doing, your QA. I still remember we used to use HP ALM, okay, to basically we call it a test management tool, where we used to centrally manage everything. Like we would manage our script inventory, our test case inventory, our defects inventory, and then we will use to put graphs to basically showcase, where is my defect leakage. So we basically use clustering mechanism to basically identify a lot of things. So the whole of the problem is around data centralization. Okay, so I would be talking about some of the strategies that I have done in my career, in my previous company. Okay, and how it benefited me. So first is automation and application logs reveals some really important details. One of the thing as part of the reliability engineering is reduction of your exceptions. The app which application is pushing onto the onto the logs. So how we can basically mine that information and tell folks that these are the top levels of exceptions. So what we have done is that any automation execution that is happening in the current org should be either pushed to an ELK stack or Splunk. Okay, so you can use these two tools where ELK is having an inherent reporting capability through Kibana, and there it basically can also uh, have a metric for obviously the one you're pushing, and also from the systems where the tests are running. So if you're using a Jenkins master slave configuration, uh, you can basically have those metrics pushed into the system level metrics to the Elasticsearch as well. Okay, obviously your application logs as a company would be going in somewhere. So it can be an Elasticsearch, Splunk, Sumo Logic, or any other tool. So what you do is you basically query these two data and try to correlate. Okay, so you can put a correlation with algorithm in machine learning and try to see that when I am running these 100 tests, what are the applications logs that are getting generated, what are the exceptions that I'm getting, and try to correlate some information between two. Unfortunately, I can't show metrics because of the copyright issues, but this is what you can think of and start seeing whether there are certain things and certain cases that you can generate from that particular algorithm. So if anybody is interested, I can basically show them how you can put this machine learning algorithms and try to identify cases. But through logs, you will be able to identify a lot of things. Second approach is, as I was telling, is about exceptions. So reduction in application and automation execution exceptions. That obviously, if my exceptions are lesser in my logs, obviously my application would tends towards stability. If you have not enabled logs, that's a different thing. But in most of the modern applications, logs are the must to have things. So what we do is we basically query exception data and then we report top exceptions. So for an example, in my previous projects, we used to basically make sure that we minimize these exceptions by having a reliability call with our developers, and we have seen that our applications becomes 60 to 70% stable over a longer run. Do I have any questions? Do I need to see Slido in between?
No, Soumya, we'll take it at the end.
Okay.
We will take it up at the end. We just have one question. Probably we can take it up.
Sure. What is it? Sorry.
It is about the logs. So yeah, what to log and what not to log is always a discussion. So any inputs on that part of it?
Sure. So for an example, whether you are enabling an info log or a trace log or a debug log, obviously your debug log would give you a lot of information, right? Main challenge in all these projects that I've seen is that your logging takes maximum amount of space in your server, and at the end becomes a bottleneck. Okay, over a longer run, I would suggest that you can initially enable the debug level data, a debug level log, to just see how the logging is happening and what level of information that you're getting, and then probably you can switch to your info log or a trace log, uh, and then take a decision based on it. Third strategy is very important, and I love this, and this really worked when I was doing this, was central reporting. Now, uh, there are projects which were running, and we used to see that the reports are coming not. So there are basically the vendors who were working, and we are seeing that they would collate, and they will take a lot of time in collation of the information at the end of the day, and they probably take an hour or two. So one thing which came into the panel discussion, and I really liked it, the way the automation is being thought through, is automation is not about automating UI or API or any level of testing. It can be written, it can be a small macro that will help your business counterparts to basically help reduction of time. So if you can reducing time, it will be really great. So one of the things that we have done is that any executions, whether you would do an API level of execution or UI, or anything that you are executing, you would be basically pushing it to an API that will basically push it to an ELK stack, or your relational database system, but it needs to be centralized. Any unit tests that's running, any API tests that are running, then any UI tests are running, because if we have centralized reporting, then you can generate graphs, trends, collate at a various business level, showcase value, showcase ROI. With respect to time, you will be able to understand how much reduction of time you have done over a period of time. There are a lot of things that you can do. Okay, one of the very popular tool these days people are using is Report Portal. Go and have a look into it. They have various integrations to different tools. It's open source, and it basically, you need not to create from scratch. If you can create, that's great, but you can use Report Portal. So what we did in this particular case is that anything that is getting executed, if it was pushed to our relational database, and then through Tableau we were able to mine that information. Also, we were doing a correlation with our logs, which is something like, if I run, let's take a small example. If I'm running an API, what levels of logs getting generated, and corresponding to the application, what amount of logs. So it's all khichdi of information that we would query, push into our ML models, and we basically was generating recommendations onto how and what are the cases that we should generate, and what we have missed. So this is one of the things that you guys can do. This does not need much effort, but obviously you would need some system to generate that initial model. But the recommendations can be generated. Okay, so this is the another strategy that I want to talk. One strategy that I wanted to talk is on the code coverage. Everybody is very keen to go shift left. Okay. And uh, and one of the key things that people do see as an important step to be done is the code coverage. Now, one of the things that we have done is then how this code coverage is implemented in your current project. Okay, so you can use a variety of tools like Coverall for JavaScript, JCoco, and all other tools, for code coverage. But really, when you look at your projects and your CI pipeline, very less projects would basically have this. And believe me, this is a very great way to basically trap a lot of things. Uh, you know, on the early stages of your testing. So there are two strategies here for code coverage that I wanted to talk about. Uh, One is hooking the code with statements which run while you run your test. So for an example, let me give you an example, and this is the analysis that I have done. It's like I have 1,000 lines of code in a program. I run two tests which covers 500 lines of code. Believe me, most of my defects may come from the rest of the 500 lines uh, that are running right now in the server. Right? I have 1,500 lines of code. I run thousands of tests, but I only have 80% coverage. That 20% may be a problem for you. Okay, so try to uh, go as close to 100%. And one of the strategy is hooking your code. So what you basically do is you basically uh, go ahead and make it a practice among developers to basically put some hook statements in anything. So for an example, if your developer is writing an if and else condition, you'll have an apply, you will have a hook at an if condition and an else condition. And you can also in this process understand your statement level coverage and all those things that we learned in our QA, right? So it's all about learning those QA stuff and then implementing here. Okay, and what you do is that when you apply hooks, there is some probe which can basically look into these hooks. They send us information, and then what you do is you do a data collection and aggregate. So you aggregate, you see how much lines of code is getting covered, and then you can push it to an algorithm to basically let you know. When I say algorithm, it's all bunch of these all things as well that would, so running of the test and then logs, so all this would go into that algorithm and then would eventually spit out uh, various information like what are the tests, recommended tests that you should run, what level of code change that has happened. So there are a lot of other things. Second way of doing code coverage is your code instrumentation. Not many people know about this, but this is one of the great way to achieve this. However, you need to a lot of convincing probably to the developers, and but this is the best way that I have seen. One is that you basically pull your code from your central repo, and then you instrument the code. Okay, so there is a open source tool that you can use for your Java projects like OpenClover, and then you can use JCoco for Java. There are a lot of tools who do code instrumentation, so it pushes in some dummy code in it, and then you can basically run your tests. Uh, Obviously, this is a pipeline that I'm showing, is that you uninstrument the code and then you deploy. But what you do is when you run the test, you basically push all the details of your test in the central reporting tool. And obviously the metrics that you would get from that particular tool who did the code instrumentation. And then you will basically get to know that how much lines of code it is covering, and how much line it is not covering, and then push into an algorithm to basically tell you that these are the lines of code that is missing, these are the tests that you may run, and what all whatnot. So these are some of these are some of the strategies which I wanted to speak about. What are the benefits of doing this? One is that how much code changed and which test to run. That means if there is one line that is getting changed by a developer, what are the tests that I need to run for that particular change only. So that's a simple change that I'm doing. I need not to run a lot of things. It's a targeted based run uh, that can be achieved with this particular process. Which tests are critical to run in this particular release? There are a lot of code changes. There are a lot of Jiras coming in. Just intelligently say, which are the tests that I would consider. Believe me, our models were accurately predicted 80% of them is correct. We have an accuracy of around 80%, which is fairly, I feel okay. We can achieve around 90%, but 80% is still good. Uh, Third point is yours with centralized reporting, which collate at an org level, and you can basically generate the business value and the ROI that you can showcase to your stakeholders. With all the failure results, exceptions, and other failures, like a lot of failures from the code, a lot of failures coming from your script, exceptions getting generated. Okay, you can put predictive analytics. Okay, and it will tell you where can be the possible failure that may arise in this particular release. This is hard to find, uh, but it is still achievable. Okay, so uh, if you look at it, we have not put AI in how my tool. We did not put AI onto my tool. We did not put AI on scripting. But what we have done is, while we're executing, and every project will execute, right? You can start from, you can basically uh, start from bottoms up, and then you can basically push in to this particular process towards the tooling side. But you can always start putting AI onto the things that you've already done, uh, and are available with you, and you will see a lot of results coming in. There's one couple of more benefits that I wanted to say is that you can put an algorithm on the Jira data. So what we have done is we have analyzed the comments coming from the Jira. Like I'm putting a comment, Apty is putting a comment, and XYZ putting comments onto the Jira, and we can basically predict the point of failure in the features. Okay, obviously we do not want people to put, nobody will put crappy stuff in your Jira comments, but they would have information uh, about the story, about the task, that can basically tell you, and you can, with your previous understanding of how your execution went, you can basically code it and do a lot of analysis there. In the process, you can basically auto generate the test code. So what we have done is that we have written the feature in such a way that used to generate the code, and which is obviously an acceptance driven code. And we have seen that somebody will write a BDD feature, but when we would generate a step definition, it auto generates the code as well with it, uh, which actually saves a lot of time. So you can put intelligent matrices around the things that you have done currently and can be done, and through which you can basically generate a lot of value into your automation projects. So this is all I wanted to talk about in this particular talk. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. If you guys want to speak about a lot of things, I'm always available on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can always reach out to me. Thank you very much. I can take questions now.
Yeah, thank you, Soumya. I'm just sharing my screen to Slido.
Sure.
So here are a few questions that we have got. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
No,
Deepti, we can see.
Yeah.
That's
So the first one is Chandrasekhar is asking, can we handle this with less resource? What will be the strategy? I think he was talking about central reporting.
So let's do this. Okay, let's assume that I am executing one test case. So what I would have is let's assume a simple metric would be a test case name and its status, its execution status as a pass or fail. What I can do is I can create a small API. How can you create a small API? You can create using a Python Flask. Very simple to do, 5 minutes job, and then write a database connection to put the information into the DB. This is the first step that you would do. And then what you do is you can put up a visualization tool. You can use a D3 chart, or you can use a Redash tool, and you can start visualizing it. So that ways, that's very simple. And then you can put this API and then ask everybody to push through this particular API. I hope I answered.
I hope that answered you, Chandrasekhar. If not, please put up your follow-up questions. The next is, can we push production data or generate another centralized reporting by pushing data from production and consolidate to build a robust solution?
Great question. Most of the people would not allow you to push data from production. You need to see a strategy wherein you can mask the PI information coming from your production data. If you can do that, if you have that policy of masking data, you can obviously use the production logs as well. We have used production log wherein we used to sync our QA systems with the production log, wherein a process was pushed into place to mask all the PI information. But you can very well do that.
Okay. But in case, I mean, this is my following question, but in case if we want to use the production data, can we not stage that data and then push it to the central reports?
Data in the sense, I am understanding here the log data, correct?
Okay. I was looking at it as test data. So
right. So test data in the sense, first of all, whatever user would do, okay, whatever the external user would do, and whatever data they will push, you will not be able to access that particular data. But you can always mask it. It is always probably available in the log. You can always try seeing the logs first, and then you can go upwards to your data set.
Okay. Okay, let's just one last question, Soumya. I think sorry, I'm not able to read this.
Shall I see? Which one do you want?
Yeah, Dhananjay is asking, we use code coverage strategy in place, as you mentioned. However, the analysis of missing code is painful. Any advices to make this easy?
So Dhananjay, I can take this offline. I need to understand, how did you put the code coverage strategy? Did you use a hooking mechanism, or are you instrumenting the code? Okay, in both of the condition, you may need to advise your developers to basically help you to put those hooks in place, or you yourself can able to do it, but you would need to have good understanding of what is the application code that's running. Okay.
Okay. Dhananjay, please get in touch with Soumya on LinkedIn. Probably that can help you more. So thank you so much, Soumya. That was very insightful and something very different. We were very glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine, and thank you very much for hosting me. Cheers.
Thank you.